And welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Heather Childers along with Joe Pinion. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that Congress will establish an independent 9/11 style commission to look into the Capitol riots as she faces growing questions about what she knew about security vulnerabilities before January 6th. Our next guest is also slamming Speaker Pelosi for keeping the fence up around the U.S. Capitol, calling for it to be torn down. He is, because it's not protecting Congress from an insurrection. She's even saying that this could stay up through the fall. He's also warning about a new insurrection, woke warriors trying to cancel conservative news organizations like Newsmax and put them out of business, putting individuals out of business for their conservative thought. Joining us to discuss all of this is former counsel to Republican Senator Rand Paul, Brian Darling. Brian, thank you very much. Two very important topics to get to today. Let's begin with Nancy Pelosi right now. Her call for this commission to look into the Capitol riots, but then a lot of calls, including from at least 4 Republican senators, about what she knew and when she knew it in regards to the Capitol riots.
Right. I'm calling on Speaker Pelosi to tear down that wall. I mean, I'm somebody who worked on Capitol Hill for years, and I can't imagine having a wall around the Capitol to protect the Capitol under these circumstances today. There's no threat. There's no legitimate threat today that we're going to have a repeat of what happened on January 6th. I do understand having some troops there during the inauguration, but there's absolutely no reason to have them now. And it is hypocrisy when you see that Nancy Pelosi is going to pull together a 9/11 style commission to study this, but yet she's got all these troops surrounding the Capitol, creating a militarized zone and creating the feeling that it's almost like one of those governments, the communist governments we look back on in Berlin, where Reagan said, tear down that wall. And that's a big problem. I think Nancy Pelosi really needs to take a hard look at what she's doing.
Well, Brian, to that point, you talk about a 9/11 style commission. I think many of us remember in the aftermath of 9/11 when we started talking about the terror levels were at an orange or a red or a burnt amber. It seems as if that we're reverting to this kind of the theatrics of security, when in reality that still remains to this day, irrespective of the disgraceful display we saw on the 6th, the people's house. And it needs to be viewed not only as accessible, but also needs to be accessible.
That's exactly right. I mean, look at what happened after 9/11. We had the Transportation Security Administration set up. The Department of Homeland Security was established in 2002. We had warrantless wiretapping by the Bush administration, and did it make us safer? I don't know if it did. And so you're going to have all these measures taken post what happened on January 6th that are going to make politicians feel better. They're going to feel great about having this wall up and having all these troops. But I feel bad for the troops. They're away from their families, and they're providing no actual service. They're just there for show. They're there to show that, to give Pelosi the anti-terrorism theater that she wants to have right now. And that's disgraceful. It really shouldn't be allowed to happen. And Republicans need to push back and say, just send the troops home. You can have some increased security measures, but let's take the wall down.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like America. And something else that doesn't look or feel like America is this level of wokeness in our culture now, and trying to censor anyone who has different thought than you. And we want to take a look and discuss your newest report card, which is on just that. And we're going to bring everything up here, beginning with Twitter. Discuss with us your findings.
Some bad grades, F+ for Twitter. The only reason why they get a plus is because conservatives still do use Twitter. So the fact that some conservatives are still on Twitter, I gave them the plus, but they've done a horrible job of just deep sixing and getting rid of all of these conservatives because they just don't like having conservatives on Twitter, and they're going to destroy themselves if they keep it up. And they're just going to be for liberals if they keep up the way their business model is developing.
Yeah, so just move through all of them for us, and we'll change the graphics.
You got Facebook here as a C-, which I guess, Twitter these days, I mean, you can search for yourself and not find yourself if you're a Republican, but at least Facebook, it seems like they're still willing to take Republicans' money. They just won't actually let someone find them organically.
It's so true. I mean, I still use Facebook to see what's going on with family and friends, but kicking Donald Trump off of Facebook was a big problem. That gets him the big C-, and I know that conservatives probably want him to get a D or an F. So I understand that. But I mean, you look at the White House; they get a terrible grade. I mean, they had a situation where they had an individual who worked for them who verbally harassed a female reporter at Politico, and they tried to keep that reporter on because, as we know, the same rules that apply to conservatives do not apply to liberals. So they tried to give them a hall pass on that, but it didn't work out. And the woke left, I gave them an F. I mean, the woke left is out to get us. They want to get Newsmax, they want to get Fox, they want to get One American News, they want to get all conservatives wiped off of cable news and satellite for the purposes of just having the voices that they agree with. They like having CNN and MSNBC as the only voices because that will lead to more unanimity, and they won't have to listen to the people they disagree with. They really hate having dissent, which is ironic because the First Amendment protects having all of these varied voices so the American people can make up their own minds.
Well, they don't want a public discourse. They want a public silencing, but we'll have to leave it there. Brian, thank you as always.
Thank you, Brian.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV because we're real news for real people.